Hey, Robin Robbins here with another session of the Technology Marketing Toolkit. And in this session, we're going to be talking about website marketing essentials. And I know this is a really important topic for many of my clients, as it should be, because having a strong website and a web presence, I should say, is really essential to your success because it affects the results of all other marketing and advertising that you're doing. Most of the traffic and of course subsequent sales are going to be initially spurred by people who get a marketing campaign from you, get referred to you, hear about you in some way, shape, or form, online or offline. And the first thing that they're going to do is go to your website. They're going to go check it out, just like you do whenever you hear about a new company. The first thing you need to do is, or the first thing you typically will do, is go to a company's website to see what they're about, see if it kind of gives you more of the picture. And if your website is really weak, or if it looks amateurish, or if it doesn't really contain anything compelling, you're going to lose some sales. You know, people who are sort of the curious buyer, if you will, they're not in hot and heavy mode, ready to call you right now. They're going to go to your website, and you have to have ways to engage them, to warm them up to the point where they really want to pick up the phone and call you. So, just as a quick review, by now we've gone through a lot of sessions, and you should have listened to sessions 1 through 4 and completed the exercises to the best of your ability. And remember, we're looking for progress here, not perfection. There's no way in heck, unless you're a really exceptional person, that you're going to have this really nailed. You're just learning this. So be easy on yourself. Even if you've just gone through those sessions and you've narrowed it down, your target market, and you've done your best to sort of formulate your marketing message, even if it's not perfect, you've made progress. You're at least now aware of the areas where you need improvement. That is fine. That is perfectly okay. And it might take you some time to develop your target market, which then takes time to develop your marketing message. It took me a year to find my niche. It took me another year to really understand and learn my niche. And of course, I've been doing this for over a decade. So you're seeing me market and you're going, man, I want to be like Robin. But, you know, I've grown up with sales and marketing. That's been my area of expertise since I can't remember when. You know, it was my first job was involved in being in a sales and marketing role. So don't be too hard on yourself, because if you're too hard on yourself, you're going to get frustrated and give up. And that's the worst thing you can do. So let's keep moving forward. Do the best you can. Let's look for progress, not perfection. But at least by now, you should have clarified a single target market that you want to dominate, and at least attempted to craft that marketing message, because those two things are extremely important to building a successful website. They're actually the essential to building any kind of successful marketing campaign, but really your website's because what you put on the website, what you say, is all going to be defined by that target market and the message that you're trying to convey. So here's our plan for this session. I'm going to tell you the two basic functions you must get right in order to build a company website that works. And what I mean by works, I mean actually generates phone calls, sales, opportunities. I'm also going to set some proper expectations on what your website can do and should do, because I think a lot of people believe that you redesign your website and all of a sudden you get phone calls. That's not the case. Your website is just one component piece of an entire marketing campaign, of an entire marketing strategy. So you wouldn't just have the steering wheel of a car and think you got it nailed. I mean, the steering wheel is just one component of making the car work, and it's a very important component, but it's not the only one. So I want to set some proper expectations. I want to clear up a number of myths and incorrect information that you might have about web marketing for IT services. And, you know, just as a side note, I am going to give you some client examples, but I'm going to be rather light on that, because every time I use a client as an example in any kind of teaching mode, it ends up driving a ton of irrelevant visitors to their website, and it screws up their analytics. So I will show you examples from some people outside of this industry. I will, of course, give you some examples inside this industry. The only thing I'd say is just be respectful of the examples I'm using. Please don't call these people and bug them and ask them a ton of questions. They don't work for me. They're running a business just like you are. They're extremely busy. and they don't have time to coach you on marketing and so forth. So please just be respectful in that sense. Also, just a quick disclaimer: the website examples I'm going to give you are always changing. So the minute I show something to you, in a month it's going to be different, and that's because the clients I work with and the examples I give you they're pretty sophisticated marketers, so they're always revising and testing new things, seeing what works, what doesn't work. Now, everything I'm going to show you, all the websites I show you, are successful and they are good ones to model, but I just want you to know, like, if you see an example here, then you go to the live website, you're going, well, this is entirely different. That's because really good web marketers, which is the examples I'm going to give you, are always improving, always testing, always revising. Their business is evolving. So just keep that in mind as we go through this session. So let's go ahead and just dive into website marketing. There really are only two critical parts to generating good, solid leads online. And if you will just keep this in your mind, this will simplify everything that we are doing here, okay? Think about it this way. The only two things are getting quality traffic to the site or visitors, and then once those visitors get there, getting them to convert. And by conversion, what I mean is they pick up the phone and they call you. They opt in by filling in a form and requesting more information, or downloading a report, or signing up for a webinar, taking some action, or of course buying. Now, most of you are not going to be selling products and services direct, but when we talk in terms of conversion, what we mean is a visitor comes to a site and they take whatever action we're trying to get them to take, which again typically is to call, to opt in on a form, or to buy. Okay? Those really are the two main parts. Everything else that you could do, social media, to the way you design your site, to the email campaigns you send out, are trying to accomplish one of these two things. So if in your mind you can understand and solidify and get rid of all the noise, if you will, about how to make a website work, it boils down to these two things. If you will get quality traffic to your site, and then your site converts that traffic, you will be successful, period. Because let me ask you a question. What part on a car is the most essential to making it work? And the part that's most essential is the part that's not working. So, to this point, I get clients who come to me all the time and say, Robin, I need to change my website because it's not working. And they'll say something about how they feel about it. Like, I don't know, I just don't think it represents us well, or it's old and we haven't updated it in a while and we haven't changed it, or something like that. And it's not generating any leads for us. That's what they say. It's not generating any leads. So then I start digging in and I'll say, well, give me some facts, give me something tangible, not just how you feel about your website, but give me some tangible numbers. Who's coming to your site? What's driving them there? How many unique visitors have you gotten in the last month or in the last quarter or some time frame? What keywords did they use to get there? And where did they come from? Are they bots? Are they searching on your name because they're existing customers? Are they local? Are they out of town? Are they like in another state? And how are you tracking leads? Do you have an accurate way of tracking phone calls that come in? Do you have an accurate way of tracking web forms? And so a lot of them don't. So they're making an assumption that because the car won't go, meaning their website doesn't work, it must be out of gas, or the engine must not be working, or something like that. So in other words, they make an assumption that a particular part is not working, and often it's not the thing that they think it is. So to give you an example, in most cases, the reason why most websites, quote unquote, don't work is simply because they're not driving the right kind of traffic or even sufficient traffic to the site. You're not just going to set up a website and automatically the world comes to it. There are billions of websites out there. And until and unless you drive the right kind of people coming to your site, of course your website's not going to work. So that's step one. Then once we get the right kind of traffic coming, then we look at conversion. All right. Now, Another thing you might want to write down, and I'll probably say this and repeat this again, but for most IT services websites, and I'm talking your generic homepage, I'm not talking about specific offer pages or landing pages. Most IT services websites convert at the rate about 0.5% to around 2%. That's the average. Now, I'm not saying that's great. I've seen it as high as 5 to 8%. But that's pretty exceptional. For most IT services websites, if you get 100 visitors to your site, then typically you're only converting about 0.5% to 1%. So for every 100 visitors, if you're getting one lead, one phone call, one form fill, you're actually doing really well, or you're at least in average. Okay, I'll say that much. So again, we're going to get into all of this, but I want you to just understand that don't make the mistake of blatantly blaming your website if it's not working, because there's a lot of moving parts to generating leads online. One of it being driving the right traffic, the other part converting that traffic. Now, let's also talk about one other important piece to this, okay? And that is accurate tracking, all right? Now, this is going to be the cornerstone to online marketing success. And I'm going to tell you this. This is an absolute undeniable fact. This is something I have seen over and over again. The companies who will take the time to accurately track and measure web performance in the areas of what kind of traffic are we getting here, meaning what keywords, what quantities, how many unique visitors, where are they coming from? The people who are tracking that and then also accurately tracking conversion, meaning phone calls and form fills, are the ones who are going to make the most amount of money and have the most amount of success. Because again, by and large, 99.9% of the people I talk to, in fact, I should say 100%, because there's only one person in this entire universe I have ever talked to who could give me accurate numbers on their website. And I'm talking about 10 years of working in the IT space. And even that person had some gaps in their numbers. But nobody can tell me how many visitors, where they're coming from, and what conversion is. And often, even when they have the tracking in place and I ask them these numbers, they give me wrong numbers. And then I go in and I will check and I'll find out their numbers are way off. So they'll say, I had no phone calls this month, Robin. I have no leads coming in. And I'll log into their phone tracking software, which I make them set up on their website. And I'll see 20 phone calls. And I'll say, well, what do you mean you didn't get any leads? And I will listen to every phone call and I'll find 2 or 3 really good leads that came in that were just mishandled, meaning the person calling got voicemail and hung up, or a technician answered the phone and didn't handle the call properly and let that fish off the hook. So I'm telling you, accurate tracking is critical. I can't stress this enough. And this is something that most people don't do, and even when they start doing it, don't do it really well. This is something you're going to have to learn and you're going to have to work on, okay? So here's the key points and reasons why I say that. Number one is you can't improve what you can't measure. So you got to, again, make sure you have some way of tracking and measuring the number of unique visitors and conversions on your website, as well as leads coming in. So we're talking phone calls and form fills. They're going to be the main 2 things that your website's going to do. Now, again, if you're selling products, then you're going to want to measure conversion to, purchases, but most of you are not. It's either going to be a phone call or somebody's going to fill in the form to download a report or a contact us form. Second, don't trust anything but results. Opinions don't count. Guesses don't count. And what you or your web guy or what your tax or what your sales guy or what your spouse likes and does not like is totally, completely irrelevant. I can't stress this enough. People come to me and they're like, Robin, here's my new web design. What do you think? I don't have any thoughts about it at all. All I know is drive some traffic through it. Let's see if it works. Now, I might have an opinion about whether I like it or not, but that my opinion doesn't even count. Again, all that counts is tracking and measuring. So if you have a website, you change the entire design of the website, which is a rip and replace. I see it all the time. and you go, oh, I think my website's better, and you have no way of tracking it. You didn't track what the performance was before, and now you're not tracking what it is now, and you're going based on a feeling. You're going completely based on nothing. That is a pure conjecture and guess and opinion. And because you like the design of the site, you might sort of say, oh, yeah, it's working better. I know it's working better. But again, until you measure and know, you don't know anything. So don't trust anything but results. If you're going to change something, it's okay to ask someone's opinion on it, but ultimately what's going to matter is how does it perform. Number 3, give yourself sufficient time and traffic before you come to any conclusion. So you want to wait until you've got at least 100 quality, unique visitors or leads coming to your site before you draw a conclusion on anyone's strategy or change a design or completely overhaul stuff. So wait until you get 100 really good visitors, and then you say, well, we got 2 phone calls or we got 5 phone calls. Well, if you got 100 quality visitors, you got 5 phone calls or form fills, that's a 5% conversion. You're double the industry average. So it might not seem like a lot, but believe me, you're doing really well. So you got to understand your metrics before you start making changes, because you're going to drive yourself nuts. You're going to waste a lot of time if you don't do this scientifically. Okay, so let's talk about what do you track and measure, okay? So again, I've said it a couple times. Now, first you want to track number of truly unique visitors. Now, truly unique visitors are people who are truly, that is the first time they've come to your site. Now, another metric you can track is just unique visitors. Now, most web analytics software will count a unique visitor if they haven't been to the site within 30 days. All right, now again, that's just a big general rule of thumb. You're going to have to look at your tracking software to determine how they calculate truly unique versus unique visitors. Actually, I'm okay with either. You can track truly unique or just unique visitors, but as long as you know sort of how many new people are coming to your site, that's really what we're trying to figure out. Next, we want to track conversion from that visitor to a lead. And again, we talked about a lead coming in is going to come in multiple ways. They're going to call you on the phone, or they're going to fill in a form, or they might contact you through social media, but that is just so rare. I would say in most cases, the way you're going to track are form fills and phone calls. Third, conversion of a lead to an appointment and or sale. Okay, so there's 2 metrics too that I also track with clients, private clients that I'm working with. We look at raw leads, meaning phone calls and form fills, and then we look at qualified leads. And there is a difference, and you're going to find based on the traffic source, your conversion from raw lead, meaning just any Tom, Dick, or Harry calling you, to qualified lead is going to be somewhere 25 to 50% of all raw leads are going to be qualified. So that means 75 to 50% are going to be just garbage, or just people that you don't want to meet with, or wrong numbers or whatever. So again, don't be afraid of that. That's just, the numbers are the numbers. You just got to know what they are, and then you start working on improving them. The other thing you want to track is cost per lead. So if you are doing some sort of pay per click, whether it's Google AdWords or you're doing LinkedIn ads or banner ads, or if you're spending money on e-zines and so forth, cost per lead is you take the total advertising cost and you divide it by the number of leads you generated. So let's say you spent $1,000 and let's say you got 5 leads. Well, that total cost is $200 per lead. Very simple, and you want to know that metric. You also want to know cost per sale. So you take that advertising cost and divide it by the number of clients. So let's suppose you spend that $1,000, you get 5 leads, you get 1 customer. The cost per sale for that 1 customer was $1,000 because you spent $1,000, generated 5 leads, closed 1. Okay, and what you'll find is that your cost per lead and cost per sale will vary based on where you're marketing and where you're advertising. Okay, so I'm talking about even offline, telemarketing, social media, all these things, Google AdWords for certain, because that's, or any other pay per click because you're paying for the advertising. You're going to want to measure what was the cost per lead and what was the cost per sale. You also want to look at search terms or keywords people use to get to you. Now, you're going to find if once you start doing this tracking, majority of people are going to be searching on your name and your company name, and that's perfectly normal and acceptable. And what that tells you is just that your offline advertising is working. So that's coming from people who are referring or have been referred to you, or have read an article you wrote, or got a newsletter or direct mail piece, or got a telemarketing call, and then they're going to search on your company to check you out. So that's going to be normal and customary. And then you're going to see a couple keywords that people use to find you. It's probably going to be something like IT support, computer support, or some variation of that. This is not rocket science. So you just want to look at the keywords people use to get to you, because if they're getting to you with garbage keywords, you want to find out, why is your site coming up high in those search terms with those garbage ones, and get rid of it, whatever's causing it. Maybe it's articles or links or whatever, because that just also tells you the quality of traffic. So if you look at your 100 visitors, and let's say 90% of them got to you through terms that you could just tell that somebody isn't going to buy. So it's something like, instead of IT support, somebody typed in pantyhose support or support pantyhose. And I've seen this, believe me. And they click on your ad or they come to your site. Well, they're not going to convert. That's not even what, it doesn't even make sense. And you'd be surprised at what people will click on. So you just want to see if you got a lot of garbage keywords, and that means you're driving garbage traffic, then that's going to affect, obviously, conversion. So not all traffic's created equal, and that's why you want to know what keywords people are using to get to you. And again, like I just said, the visitor source and location, garbage in, garbage out. All right. So make sure, if you're making an assessment about the performance of a particular website, you're looking at, is there quality traffic coming here? Because if there's not quality traffic, you can't blame the site. All right. You got to fix the traffic first. Then you go and you fix the website. The other thing you want to look at is popular pages visited. I can tell you from experience that the About Us page is probably going to be the second most visited part of your website than the Contact Us. You're going to notice things like services. Most people don't even click on that. There's going to be different parts of your site nobody clicks on. Don't be shocked by that. It's normal. It's not to say you don't have a services page on your website. It's just to say that you want to put more time and attention on the pages that people are going to first, and where they're going second, and work on those, because those are going to be the ones that your audience is interested in learning about. So now let's talk about how to calculate website conversion. And again, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but what you're doing is you're taking the total leads that you generated over a period of time divided by the total visitors. All right, so let's say we look at a time period of about a month, which is, I'm just using that as an example. And most people, a month is about sufficient. Some people measure quarterly. Some people measure weekly. It just depends on the flow of traffic. So we look at a time frame in our business is about every week to every 2 to 3 weeks, because we want to get sufficient traffic coming through before we make any determination. So you take a time period, whatever it is, let's say it's a month, and let's say you got 300 clicks, and I'm going to use the term clicks to, I should have actually probably put visitors as well. So let's say we got 300 visitors, unique visitors that came to our site over that month. We got 5 leads, and so we got 4 phone calls, 1 person filled in a form, which again is very normal. You're going to see that 80% of the leads that come in are coming in by phone. What that means is you got a 1.6% conversion, which is really good. And you take 5 and you divide it by the 300, and that's how you get 1.6 conversion. So again, most IT websites, and I'm talking generic homepage websites, are converting on average 0.5% to 2%. All right. Again, I've seen some convert as high as 5%, 8%, but most are only 0.5% to 2% range. So again, let's say you're looking at your weblogs and you're going, well, I'm not generating any leads. And the first thing I'll say is, well, let's look at the traffic coming there. And we look and we say, well, over the last month, we only got 50 visitors to our site. Well, if it's 50 visitors, 0.5% conversion isn't even a whole person yet. So again, you can't say that the site's not working because there wasn't sufficient traffic. in order for us to determine whether or not it is converting. Okay, I hope that's clear. All right, now one other little pro trick when we're talking about setting up tracking and analytics. Now, a lot of people are going to be coming to your site from various things. So it's either going to be coming from maybe networking events and trade shows and referrals. It could be direct mail. Maybe you're doing some advertising on Facebook, or maybe you're doing Google pay-per-click. One of the things I'm going to recommend you do is set up funnels. Now, what you're seeing here is sort of a graphic representation of what we did when we did the toolkit launch. Now, the page you're seeing is the sales page for the product. When we were marketing and advertising this product, we were using direct mail, we were using Facebook, we were using affiliates, and we were using Google SEO, we were using email, we were using all different, even telemarketing. We were using a number of different advertising and marketing media to promote the toolkit. Now, here's the key thing. For every affiliate, we set up a unique URL. The page looked exactly the same as all the other pages. So every affiliate we had drove traffic. They would email their list. They would drive traffic to the sales page, as you're seeing here. And that affiliate would have a unique URL. So like Carl Palachuk, for example, he was one of our affiliates. We had a website, a web URL that was toolkitlive.com/Carl. Now we could tell how much traffic Carl was driving. So when he said he sent out an email, I didn't have to ask him how many clicks, because I could tell by visits that X number of people came to the page based on Carl's emails or blog posts or verbal recommendations or however else he was driving that traffic. And then we could track sales because we had the links on that page specifically tied to Carl. All right. Now we did the same. We hired a telemarketing firm, and I wanted to see what impact the telemarketing had on sales. Because when you're doing a lot of marketing and advertising like we were doing direct mail and telemarketing and emails and affiliates and social media and all the rest of it, it all gets jumbled up, and you start to wonder, well, did that affiliate really help us out? Did the telemarketing really pay for itself? You start asking yourself questions like, that direct mail campaign went out, and at the same time we were calling people, telemarketing, and we were sending them emails. So was it the phone call that made the difference, or was it the email? And the reality is, the rising tide lifts all boats. So the more marketing you do, the more touches they get with more media, it's going to elevate everything. But like, for example, the telemarketers, we had a unique URL that the telemarketers would verbally give on a voicemail or to a prospect. And that allowed us to see how many people, that we knew how many people they talked to. And we could tell out of how many people they talked to, how many people actually went to the website and either opted in or bought. All right. And that allowed us to directly track the impact telemarketing had on this particular campaign. So again, another little trick you might want to set up is you can just replicate the page. It can be the exact same page. Just set up a unique URL with tracking on it, with web analytics software, whatever you choose, Google Analytics or whatever it is. And that way you can tell directly from that exercise, how many visitors did you get? How many leads do you get? And we've done this with every type of marketing we've done, whether it's social media, whether it's a trade show we've gone to, an email campaign that we're doing, an affiliate, it doesn't matter. We set up these unique URLs. They are super easy. They don't really cost anything because you're just replicating a page, and it allows you to track. Now, with that said, there's going to be 3 basic tools you'll need in order to track what's going on in your website and whether it works. Number 1, I've mentioned it a couple times, which is web analytics software. So that's like a Google Analytics. Google Analytics is free, and you install a piece of code on your website, or your web guy does, and it tells you how many visitors. It tells you where they're coming from. It tells you what keywords. You can even set up conversion funnels so you can see what forms they've converted to, so forth. Which goes to the next thing, which is web form tracking. So with our analytics software, we can set up funnels to know how many people converted, but more importantly, we also, through our CRM software, and we happen to be using Salesforce, not saying that's right for you, but we're using Salesforce. The web forms feed directly into Salesforce with tracking, so we can look at a particular web form and we know we got 20 leads last month, or 20 people filled in this form, or whatever the number is. The other thing you're going to have to track is phone tracking and recording. Now, I know you're going to want me to tell you what vendors to use, but here's what I want you to do. Go to the vendor directory on the dashboard and go up there, and we have vendors and recommendations for all of these things. And the reason I don't want to tell you what to go use on this session is because there are always new vendors, new tools, new resources that we're discovering that are better than ones we've had. And so it's an ongoing changing thing. I mean, month to month, it can even change. New tools, new analytics, new vendors we discover. So I don't want to tell you what to do. I would encourage you, go to the vendor directory, and there you can find vendors for these various things, and you can see comments from other members of whether they liked it, didn't like it. And you can even do the same. So if you have some experience with, let's say, a sort of web analytics software and you think it's awesome, you can go up there and you can find it and you can say it's awesome. Or if it's not up there, you can let us know about it. That way we can alert other members. But bottom line, I can tell you right now, as it stands, Google Analytics is a very powerful, complete tracking software. It's free. It does the job. It's what we use. It'll tell you everything you need to know about traffic coming to your site. The only problem is it gives you so much information. It can sometimes be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, and maybe that's not even the case. It's more of when you go into Google Analytics, there are so many options. There's so much information. You'll spend an hour and a half up there just clicking around, looking at a bunch of stuff that's really not that important. So it's almost like overwhelming, but it's good. And once you get used to it and get the hang of it, and if you work with any web designer, should be able to set this up. It's a very simple thing. And it will also set up, when I say web form tracking, it'll set up conversion funnels. For us personally, I use our CRM software to track how many form fills we got, which are leads. And then you're going to need another type of phone tracking and recording, meaning you're going to have a unique phone number on your website or on your landing page, whatever it is, and track and record phone calls coming in so you can tell how many leads you generated. All right, now, one other key recommendation, because we're going to get into web design here in a minute. But before you change your website based on any of the recommendations that I'm going to give you in the session, please set up tracking first to get a baseline and determine where you are right now. Please, please, please don't make the mistake everybody makes, and they come to me and they say, my website's not working. And I say, how do you know? And they have no tracking. They're basing it on just a gut feel. So before you change anything, even if you're absolutely certain your website sucks and it's not working, at least set up some analytics so we know how much traffic's coming there, who's coming there, and if in fact you are getting any phone calls at least, or form fills. All right, now we're going to talk about how to drive quality traffic to your website. What do I mean by quote unquote right traffic? And essentially it's pretty simple. Right traffic, I mean a person who is the type of prospect you actually want to attract and have as a customer. Obviously, I mean that's going to be key number one. And number two is actually looking to buy what you sell right now, or is at least open to the possibility of buying what you sell. All right. So let me give you an analogy. Let's suppose, we use a different analogy outside of IT, but let's suppose we owned a high-end shoe store that sold luxury, high-priced women's shoes. Okay. Well, if we wanted to sell shoes, we need to get people to come into the store to buy stuff. Now, they actually call this in retail, they call it store traffic, right? Just like online traffic. But the reality is we don't want just anyone coming in. We want women who are looking to buy high-end shoes who can afford to pay the prices for expensive designer shoes. We want those people to come in, not the Walmart shoppers. Because if we're getting people to come in because we're giving away, let's say, free candy or offering a free car wash, we might get traffic, but we might not get buyers. And what we want are buyers. And a lot of web marketing is just that. It's designed to get you a lot of clicks, or it's designed to get you a lot of eyeballs on screens or quote unquote traffic, but you're not getting any serious buyers, okay? So now let's suppose our shoe store is in the local mall, and there's a lot of natural traffic walking past our store, which are people who are there to buy stuff, which is pretty good because, I mean, they're in the right frame of mind. That's better, but again, we need our target market, which again, in this case, would be women who are looking to buy and can afford luxury high-end designer shoes. We want them to come in and actually buy, and they have to do that before we make any money. That's called conversion, because we don't profit from people walking past our store. You do not profit from traffic coming to your website. The only time you profit is when serious buyers are enticed to come to your website, to pick up the phone and call you, or fill in a form to actually engage with you. All right. Now, with that understanding, and it seems really simple, but I see people making the mistake all the time of they're frittering away their time tweeting or, linking to their website, or they're trying to get maximum. They're working with like an SEO company, or they're working with a company that does pay per click, and that company, their goal is just to get you traffic. So they're going to tell you at the end of the day, hey man, look at all the traffic we drove to you. We got you, 100 clicks or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can't take clicks to the bank. You don't make money with clicks. You don't make money by just traffic coming to your site. You make money when a right buyer comes to your site and takes action. And I tell you this just because I see this. It sounds obvious, but again, the activities that you're doing to drive traffic, you got to make sure you're getting the right traffic, because online, about 90% of the traffic that you're going to generate is going to be complete garbage. And that's why often, not always, but often advertising on Twitter or Facebook or other social media sites for many is a complete and utter waste of time, because their ideal target market or prospect is not on those sites looking for the IT services they sell. All right. So let's go back to our analogy. That's like putting, with our shoe store analogy. All right. So let's say we have a high-end luxury shoe store, and instead of being in a mall, we have our store that is in a shopping center that has a Kmart, a Jiffy Lube, and a McDonald's in it. Okay. Now there might be a lot of traffic, people going to Kmart, people going to McDonald's or Jiffy Lube. But if we're selling high-end designer shoes for women, it's most likely it's going to be the wrong traffic. Now, yeah, occasionally the right kind of buyer is going to drive by or is going to take their kids to McDonald's, but we can't depend on the natural, easy traffic driving by to survive. So if we were in that case, we would have to do something to specifically target the right type of client we're looking for and entice them to come in and buy something like that, okay? And again, going back to social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and even YouTube, there might be a lot of traffic to those sites, but the traffic may not be what you want, or the people there might not be looking for IT services or any kind of professional services. I don't know about you, but on my Facebook page, anytime I post something serious about business, I get very few comments, if no comments, and no likes. But if I post a picture of my daughter, Jamie, or of me working out or doing something kooky or whatever, that's when I get the most comments, because people are going to Facebook to be social. That's why it's called quote unquote social media. Or they're going to YouTube to take a break because they're busy and they're going to watch a funny video or something like that. So again, you just got to understand, if that's your buyer and you can monetize those and you can show me through hard statistics, through numbers, through tracking, that you are getting a solid return on your investment, meaning you are spending time and money getting people from YouTube or from these places to come to your site and buy, if you can show me that, I'm all for advertising or focusing on those sites. But again, you got to make sure it's the right traffic. So I know the question you're going to have is, what's the best place to advertise to drive quality traffic to my website? And the answer is, it's the place your chosen target market goes to look for information when buying what you sell, or is at least in a business state of mind. That's why Google pay-per-click often works much better than, let's say, even natural SEO or advertising on Facebook. Okay, and that's because if I go to Google, and most of your clients would do the same, and I'm looking to outsource my IT support, or I'm looking to replace who I've got, just like you, many of your customers go to Google and you type in IT support or phone systems or whatever, and you look for vendors. And so the people who click on Google pay-per-click ads are typically more like buyers. Now, again, you can really hose up Google AdWords, you can really hose up anything, so you got to know what you're doing. But bottom line, I want you to go back to thinking about your target market and what are ways that you can communicate with them or get into the flow of how they look for information in a business setting. So that's where you want to advertise. Now, if it's online, great, but you'll often find in order to get good quality leads, you're going to have to do things that aren't online marketing, like direct mail, telemarketing, networking events, referrals, public speaking, going to seminars and trade shows that your target market is going to and present and so forth. Because again, you don't want to put all your time and effort into social media, let's say, because it's the hot new popular thing and it's free and it's easy and all the rest of it, if your target market really isn't even going there. Okay, now, so for example, even my company, we do generate a small percentage of buyers and leads from Facebook and social media, but it's very small. It's 5% or less. The bulk of our sales are coming from other marketing and advertising we're doing. So we put some effort on social media. I'm not saying we don't. But our purpose for doing that is more around has more to do with the fact that our target market expects to see us there, because they think, like you might think, well, Robin, if you didn't have a Facebook fan page, if you didn't tweet and those type of things, you'd think I was a bad marketer. It's not necessarily true. Okay, that's, people assume those things, and it's just that, it's based on incorrect assumptions. So we're there because we just want to have a presence there, but it is not a big driver to our leads and to our success. All right. So let me give you a short starter list of traffic sources to test, keyword test, meaning you got to know traffic and conversion. We've already gone over that, to consider. All right. I can tell you from experience, offline sources often tend to be the best sources of driving people to your website and generating leads. And we're talking about referrals, direct mail campaigns, telemarketing, canvassing, speaking at public events, those kinds of things. Because again, what do people do? They hear about you. First thing they do is they go to your website. So often you're going to find that for your target market selling professional B2B IT services, often other advertising besides pure online play is going to be the best source of leads and traffic. Okay, Google AdWords and other pay-per-click advertising, again, has proven to be very highly effective. And I'm talking about direct pay-per-click. I'm not talking about redirected traffic and there you can sponsor your ads on like sort of in network. So in other words, pay-per-click advertising where people really aren't searching on the services that you provide. Not as effective. I mean, what is really effective is when somebody's going to Google and typing in IT support Nashville, and you're a Nashville MSP, that's going to be the kind of person you want your website to come up for, right? So again, Google AdWords pay-per-click traffic where they are directly searching on what you sell, or they're at least in a business state of mind. Natural SEO, again, if certain keywords, fantastic. You want to make sure that you're in, again, Google being the 800-pound gorilla. You want to make sure at a minimum you have claimed your business in Google, that is very simple to do. And again, I could show you right now, but it changes literally week to week, month to month. But it's very simple to do. Go up on Google, find your business, and claim it. And you can put a map. You can put coupons and offers with Google Places right now. You can start creating reviews and building that out. And it's all pretty self-explanatory and easy. There's really no tricks to it other than I'd say, go up and do it and use good keywords for descriptive keywords and sentences and information about what you do, and just spend some time on it. Third or fourth, e-zine or email promotions to your list or to sponsored list. Now, what I mean by sponsored list is, let's say, for example, there is a association that your niche belongs to. There are a lot of associations will rent you or will allow you to buy an ad that they will email out to their members. So that's kind of like a sponsored email promotion, and we can get more into that in a later session. The only thing I'll just, as a side note here, I'll mention is stay away from email lists that you can purchase. Because just because you've purchased a list, these people tell you, oh, they're opt-in. They didn't opt in to get information from you, and people get really upset if you email them and you don't have permission to email them. So just because you bought the list from some third party does not mean that you are going to be a welcome, email coming into their inbox. And in most cases, those lists are just big spam lists and they're not worth the money. So, but if you do it properly with your own email promotions, or if you buy sort of sponsored emails where the website or the company sends out an email to their members endorsing you, that kind of thing, perfectly acceptable. Great way to advertise. JVs and affiliate promotions, again, that could be done by emails, webinars, etc. If you get a joint venture, somebody who will email their list to promote you online, they call it affiliates. But that kind of advertising is very good as well. Online ad buys, so banners and sponsored ads and so forth on websites where your target market hangs out and goes to and gets information, very good. Writing articles for industry publications, we do that. I write a number of articles for a number of different publications that are in my niche specifically. We write those that drive some traffic and leads to our site. Obviously, PR, if you can get interviewed on a radio, TV, or newspapers, that's going to drive a ton of traffic to your site. And your list of where to go find traffic sources, again, is going to largely depend on your chosen target market. So if you are selling to home users or small home offices, where you would advertise and market is going to be a lot different than if we are selling to the CEO of companies that have 1,000+ employees and we're selling very sophisticated software or IT services. Again, it goes back to knowing your niche. That's why that target market worksheet and that target market session was early on, because it determines what advertising and marketing you do, the offers you make, and where you go fish to get people to come to your website. So now let's talk a little bit about how to convert those visitors to leads. And this is the part where most people want to get, which is we're going to get into some web design stuff, okay? But again, hopefully you're understanding that just like that car image I showed you, there's a lot of moving parts to this most people don't even think about. And so I'm trying to really help you understand what it takes to be successful online. So here's one of the most important things I can give you to put on your website, because that's what everybody wants to know. What should my website look like? What should it say? The number one question your website must instantly answer is, am I in the right place? Prospects come to your website and that's what they're thinking. They're looking for something. There's something that's driving them there. And, maybe occasionally it's curiosity, but for the most part, they are looking for something. And the thing they're trying to figure out is, am I in the right place? They're asking themselves, is this what I'm looking for? And is this for me? So the reason I want you to understand that is if you look at your weblogs, you will see most people spend only a few seconds on your homepage. People click around a site very, very quickly. So in a flash instant, you need to be able to answer the question, am I in the right place? Yes, this is for you. And, again, it comes back to knowing your target market, because the most important part of your entire website is your homepage, because that's where most people are going to enter. But particularly the top 1/3 of the page. And this is where your headline is going to be. And this is where we need to identify what it is you do and who you do it for and why they should engage with you. All right. So, just as a refresher, you'll remember these 4 elements that make up a good company marketing message, which was in a previous session. Number 1, it's got to simply articulate what you do. It identifies who you do it for. It details the specific problems you solve and or the results you deliver. And hopefully it also articulates your USP. Now, if I went to your website right now, for most of you, it would be number 1 is where you would stop. It would just simply articulate what you do. And in fact, many companies don't even do that. I can't tell you the number of websites I've gone to, and I can't tell for the life of me what it is they do and who they do it for. Now, like I might go to a website and I know they are a cloud provider, but I don't know a cloud provider of what. I mean, to me, and you and I both know, that is so general and so vague that there's absolutely no way I'm going to know, are you a cloud provider? Are you a hosting company? Are you, do you sell to resellers in the channel and help them deliver cloud solutions to their clients? Are you, I mean, you understand what I'm saying. It's just so vague. I mean, do you sell applications, cloud applications? So it's really important in the headline of your website that you articulate these 4 things, okay? And I'll give you a really good example. This is an example of one of my clients, Frogworks, and they're in the Washington, D.C. area. Now, if you go here, it says, feeling like you've outgrown your current IT company. We don't just say, no other IT consulting firm in the Washington, D.C. area can touch our fast response time, ability to prevent technical problems from happening, or quality customer service. We will absolutely, positively prove it. Call us today. Very simple. Shows the team. That's like social proof in a sense, that shows that they're not just a one-man band. And down below it, you can quickly see cloud computing, network support, network security, data backup. This is an example that works really well because it's telling the prospect, it's hitting on a pain point that a lot of the prospects they want articulate. So what I did with the Frogworks team is they went back and we listened to phone calls that came in from prospects that turned into really good customers. And one of the things that they were articulating quite a bit is they'd say, I feel like I've outgrown our current IT company. They're just not responsive. We're having technical problems coming up over and over again, and I just think we've outgrown them. So we've heard that phrase, which is exactly why we put it on the website, because that is magnetic to the ideal prospect we want. And it's not based on theory. It's not based on my opinion or their opinion. It's based on listening to recorded phone calls of prospects who have called in and asking them what's going on, what's the problem in sales meetings, listening to those customers like I've talked about doing before. And that way we now use our advertising and our website to articulate that back to the prospects we want. Of course, here's what other business owners in DC and Virginia had to say. So we kind of reinforce that. So this is a really good example that this website was carefully designed for a very specific target market and based on the good customers they have now and the problems they have and what they want. All right, I'll give you another good example. Now, this is a website I found online that has nothing to do with IT. They actually do sort of windows or replacement windows, but I thought this was such a well done website. It says the best windows on earth will fail if they are not installed properly. We're the only company in Chicago, which again tells us where they are, that pays our installers more to do the job right. No cutting corners. Don't buy windows from anyone until you've educated yourself. Most companies cut corners on installation so you think you're getting a good deal. We're not the fastest. We're not the cheapest. We're the company that takes the time and effort to install your windows the right way. Fantastic. They're offering educational material. They're offering references. They're giving a free estimate. So this is an excellent example of a website that instantly tells me what they do, who they do it for, and really what their USP is. Because we can see from the image there of a man installing a window that they do it for residential residential buyers. Now, if they were commercial, we might want to change this a bit, but you can tell just from the images, you can tell from the language and so forth that, that's what they do. Very, very, very good example to follow. So let's talk about, aside from your homepage, I just gave you a couple examples. I just talked about the top third of the page being the most important element, headline being key, other key elements and pages that you want to think about. Like I mentioned previously, the About Us page. And the About Us page is most likely going to be the second most visited page on your website. So if you look at your analytics, you're going to see homepage most popular, second page is going to be About Us. Okay. Now, if you have a team of people, show them off. A lot of, and again, I guess I should articulate this based on your target market because it all depends. But I can tell you that companies that have been outsourcing their IT support and are looking to switch providers, one of the things they look for is a team of people. They want to avoid that one-man band, and I'm sorry if you're a one-man band, you have to have other ways to overcome that, but they're looking for a slightly larger organization. So if you have a team of people, show them off, talk about your executive team, and post your origin story, which is how you started your company. You want to post awards you've won, your mission and vision, famous clients that you've served, the number of clients you support. If it's a big number, obviously if it's a small number, you don't want to advertise that. Reiterate your unique selling proposition, your value proposition, maybe books that you've authored, and anything else that will build credibility for your organization. On the About Us page, this is a really key page that should reinforce your credibility and should build trust with the prospect. Now, again, if you're a solo entrepreneur, that's fine. I started out that way. I'll show you an example of a really good About Us page. This is Mike Michalowicz. He's a friend of mine. I've had him speak at my events. I've interviewed him a number of times. He's the author of a couple of different books, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur and The Pumpkin Plan, which are excellent books that you should read. But, here is Mike's About Us page. Now, it says author because, obviously he's the author, but it talks about him starting his business at the age of 24. I like the picture because the picture kind of just says, I'm an entrepreneur, what's your excuse? You can click there for more information about Mike. There's his, get in touch with him. You can click on his bio and you can see that he's got a number of things on the right-hand column, why Mike's coolish, and it's done in a very fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of way. But this is an excellent About Us page that if you're kind of thinking about, I'm a solo entrepreneur, this would be a great one to model. Now, I'll give you another odd example that's outside of our industry, but it's an example of an origin story. Now, up in Seattle, which I've visited many times, Microsoft has their offices up there, and I've been up there speaking at a number of events. There's a fish market in the Pike's Place market called Pike Place Fish Market. So it's, but they're called world famous, and actually the book Fish has been written about them. And if you ever get to Seattle, you need to go and check it out because the Pike Place Fish Market is really an amazing thing. They are an example of how you can take something very ordinary, which they're selling fish, and there's about 5 or 6 other vendors within walking distance selling the same product to the same people, same price point, buying it from the same vendors. And they have really differentiated themselves. Every time I go up to the Pike's Place market, there's always a crowd standing around this fishmonger. They're always getting people ordering online. They've got a raving fan following. And it's not because of the fish. They're selling the exact same product. So this is an excellent example of how a company has differentiated itself, selling a commodity essentially, with their competition just steps away from them and they outsell them all the time. And that's because they make buying fish a lot of fun, and they become world famous because when you buy a fish, they actually throw the fish and you can catch it and you get to take your picture and all the rest of it. So they have built a tremendous culture. They have built theater into buying fish. You don't just go and buy fish and they stick it on a scale and slap a price tag, thank you very much. They make it a fun and memorable experience. So check them out. And they have a really good website, talks about how they got started, our humble beginnings, and who the guy is that bought it and how they became famous and everything else. So this is the kind of stuff that you want on the About Us page. You want to give your company some character. You want to give it, sort of paint the picture of what you're really about. And being about something it can be a tremendous competitive advantage, because people can go anywhere and just read all about your technical expertise and what you do. That's boring. Everybody writes that. They want to know about the people they're going to be working with, because in your business, you're a very service-focused business. You're a people business. If I hire you to do my IT support, I'm going to be interacting with your people. I want to know what you're about. Are you a fun organization? Are you a serious organization? Are you driven? That's the kind of things you want to find out. So on your website, on the About Us page, make sure you reiterate that. And there's tons of great examples out there. I just gave you one. But, look around and look at other companies, really successful companies, and look at their About Us page. Other key elements and pages that I would recommend that you do, just to kind of go down this list really quick. You've already seen this in some of the examples I've given you, but obviously giving free reports, videos, and content to build your case and educate the customer. All right. Now, websites can be dynamic and interactive. It doesn't have to be just static information. Allowing also the customer to get free reports and information. Like maybe you put up some of the free reports you've got in the toolkit. 21 questions you should ask any IT company before giving them access to your computer network. Or it could be something on backup and disaster recovery. Or maybe it's what should you pay for IT support. We'll show you how to avoid gotchas and pitfalls and how to know what you're really paying for. Maybe you have a report that says, don't just ask your IT provider what's your price, but ask what are you getting for the money, how to read a contract for an MSP so you really understand what you're getting. So free reports, this free information, whether they're delivered in a report format or a video or in a webinar PowerPoint style, it's really important that you do that because it helps you to educate the customer and deliver value in advance. Also, case studies. You want to showcase client testimonials. Now, again, whether it's done in a case study format or whether it's done in a short testimonial, on your website, you should have as many client testimonials and case studies as possible, because it's one thing for you to say how great you are. It's quite another if somebody comes to your website and they see dozens upon dozens of success stories. That's been one of our strongest suits in marketing our company, because we have so many. We don't even have them all posted up, and it's a project we're always working on because we're always getting new ones. You want to have just a ton of proof through case studies and testimonials, because that's really going to drive people to trust you and want to call you. Also, obviously, you want to have a contact us page. The only thing I'll say is make it easy for someone to contact you. You want to give them multiple options. So make your address very clear, give them a fax number, give them a phone number, make your phone number really easy to find. I'm sure you've had the same frustration as me where you're just trying to find a phone number and it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Make your phone number prominent, easy to find. Email. Add a Google map if you have an office or a store location. Put a form there where they can fill in the form and they can click to get an email. You might also connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the social media sites. So just make it really easy and neat for somebody to contact you, and make sure the forms work by all means. Also, you might put a frequently asked questions section. That might be just frequently asked questions about our company or about outsourcing to us, and just take the common questions you hear from people, like, what exactly do you guys do? And, what do you do? Who do you do it for? Those would be two great questions. And what do you charge? You can kind of answer those frequently asked questions. And for example, the how do you charge or what do you charge, you don't have to give a price list. I'm not saying that, but you can address that question and say that, we charge based on, customized assessment of your environment, your needs, your budget. Every client's different. So we don't have a cookie cutter, one price fits all. We go in, we assess your network, we look at what you need to do, we look at your budget, we look at workflow, and a number of other things, and then we customize a solution based on that. And therefore we can't quote you a price over the phone, but feel free to give us a call. There'll be a no pressure, friendly, knowledgeable consultant. Will spend time with you and answer your questions, etc., etc. So the point is, you might consider putting a frequently asked questions section because it can answer a lot of questions you get and further sell your services. Also, you might add on a why hire us. So if you want to just put a definitive list of the things you do better, because maybe your USP is not just one thing, but it's multiple things that you do, then what you can do is on your site, you can have it titled the navigation, why hire us, or X things we do better, meaning like 7 things or 3 things or 20 things we do better. It could also be titled why choose us. It could be titled the whatever the name of your company, the Nashville IT difference, whatever that is. Those are different ways of languaging this page. And on it, you can just articulate, here's what we do better than the competition. That might be something else. But again, the most important page on your website is going to be your home page. After that, it's going to be the About Us. After that, probably is going to be the Contact Us. And then the rest of this information, like testimonials and case studies and evidence and reports, all this is going to kind of decorate the site to be there as evidence. Even if they don't click on it, it's still there as evidence to build your case. Now, one final thing before we move on. Your website's main purpose is to sell you. Never forget that. Anything you post on it that will build trust should be added. In this session, I couldn't possibly think of every single scenario of information that you should put on your website because, again, it's unique to each target market. But just never forget this one thing. Your website is not just a menu of services of what you do, which is what most people treat it like. It is an opportunity for you to build trust because at the end of the day, most clients don't even understand the technical terms, the lingo. They don't even know exactly what you do. They just need to know, can I trust you to solve my problems? That's it. So your website should be built with that purpose in mind and nothing else. All right, now let's get a little bit into homepage design, layout, and conversion enhancing guidelines, because I know, again, a lot of you want to kind of know about design. And I've already given you some really good examples that you can model. There's tons of great examples. But I can tell you that there's a couple of formats that I've stuck to that have seemed to work really well for me and for my clients, and I'm going to share those with you. And by no means am I saying this is the only way to do it. These are just some formats that I've seen. So in this example, in just a general blocked out kind of way, this homepage design seems to work really well. So you have your logo, your banner, and your navigation in that top part. Then you have a very powerful direct headline there that details what you do, meaning the problems you solve or the results you deliver, and who you do it for. Next to that, you can put some image. It can be a video. It could be a team picture. It could be a CEO headshot if it's just you, or an image that's tied to being whatever the offer is. So if this headline says something to the effect, we don't just say that we will lower your costs and improve operations and improve productivity and efficiency, we'll actually prove it. Maybe next to it you have an offer for a free report or a free analysis or something like that. You might have an image of that and say, click here to, or fill in the form below to request a private one-on-one consultation where we can absolutely positively show you how we can improve your operations, your productivity, and your profits, or something to that effect. Again, I'm giving you like a big general idea of where certain chunks of content will go. So whatever the headline is, you want a secondary headline that's going to be typically a bit longer, that's going to support your main headline with more details and more information. And then under that, a sales letter that further details who you are, what you do, or why someone should buy from you. Or you could just put a ton of testimonials if the headline and the secondary headline pretty much outlines it. Now, I'll show you an example of this is exactly what we're looking at here. Couple things I want to point out. This is Scott Spiro, president of Computer Solutions Group. He's out in LA, and you'll notice he's got his phone number very prominent. That is a tracking phone number that is unique to the site, so we know exactly how many leads we're generating. You'll see he's done a great job at highlighting the fact that he's been interviewed on TV. He has been written up in Channel Insider, the New York Times, etc. Also, strong headline. Are you searching online for an IT support firm in Los Angeles because your company's network is running slow and causing you problems, but you don't know who you can trust to fix it fast? If so, give us a call and let us show you what fast, friendly, and highly responsive outsourced IT services should be for your small, medium business. Now, that one headline has nailed the problems that his ideal prospect is going to be having. It states his USP, and it talks about who he's done it for, and his phone number is very prominent. This is a very successful website. Down here, they can sign up for a free 2-hour network assessment, free, no obligation. And then over here, you can see we've also got some other social proof where they can get a copy of his new book, Hassle-Free Computer Support. He's also got some testimonials there that further support these claims. So this is a great example of a website that follows the format that I just showed you. This is another similar design, if you will. And again, big headline, or it could be a video sales letter. So another thing that you might consider if you're good on camera is that you might put a video sales letter on your site that details what you do, maybe the problems you solve or results you deliver, who you do it for, as well as makes an offer. Now, it could be a video of you. Maybe it's a couple compilation video of comments and testimonials from your clients and you. Maybe it's maybe it's an animated video that tells your story. So think about this, because often I've even found adding video to our websites increases conversion. So I'm pretty good on camera, and I can articulate what we do, who we do it for, and so when we add videos of me, I have found that it really does improve conversion. All right. And then, of course, underneath that, you want to have sort of your secondary headline. Basically, that's where you would have the text under the video that, again, supports your main headline with more details and information. Underneath that, you've got a sales letter. And then to the right, you want to tie something to the offer being made. That is my favorite spot, by the way, to have an opt-in form, is to the right, because we tend to read left to right. Well, not tend to, we do. We read left to right, and your hand and your mouse, most people are right-handed, and they tend to go to that upper right corner. So that's where you want to put your opt-in page. I have found that has been one of the best places for it right there. Now, I'm going to show you an example that follows this format. This is a friend of mine, Ben Glass. He's a personal injury, medical malpractice, and long-term disability attorney. So he does multiple things, but he has a really, really good website. Now, again, you'll notice very prominent phone number. This is, again, a tracking phone number he has. He has a very good navigation. I like cases we handle, more information, our team, what our clients say, case results. That's going to be case studies. He doesn't call them testimonials, which I think is really good. Contact and locations, because he's got multiple locations. The video here is Ben talking about his company and what he can do for people. And over here, he's got a free book that you can request. So this is giving him some social proof. These are all books that he has authored and self-published, which are very, very good. In this case, the one he's got featured here, 5 Deadly Sins That Can Wreck Your Injury Claim. Before signing any forms, talking to an adjuster, or hiring an attorney, you want to get this book. And again, down here underneath the video, you can see he's got, before you sign any forms or talk to an adjuster, get this information. And he's also done a really good job at segmenting the things that he does. So he does personal injury, long-term disability, medical malpractice, and success stories. Now, if you sell multiple services like managed services, phone systems, websites, this is a good way of displaying what you do. This is also a good way of showing maybe different verticals that you work within. So let's say you work with financial service companies, medical companies, and attorneys, and maybe small business. What you can do is you can have those blocked off like he has it here. And that way, if I'm a medical practice, solutions, and they can click there. So this is a really good way of demonstrating not only what you do, but also the different verticals you serve. Now, people might not even click on these things, which is fine. But I already know just from looking at the way this is designed, I know Ben does personal injury. I know he does long-term disability. And I know he does medical malpractice. So even if I don't click on it, it serves its purpose. And then down here, which is cut off, which you can't see, is since most lawyer ads give you no useful information at all that would help you compare one to the other, we created this short video. So he's got a good video on his site at the moment I'm filming this that kind of shows the prospect, the visitor, how to find a good attorney, what questions to ask, what to look for, and so on. And this is, again, even though this is an attorney site, you can learn a lot and model a lot of this. Okay, now let's talk about big common do-nots to avoid. First of all, do not let your website sit vacant or have a coming soon sign. And you really don't want that to be your first impression to a potential new client. If you are starting a business, get your dang website up. They're easy to do. They're so cheap. There's no excuse for not having a good website. Also, do not use hard to read or light colored fonts. If you turn your website over to a graphic designer to have at it, I guarantee you they're going to do this because graphic designers are interested in design. They're not interested in function. And most people hand over their website design to a graphic designer who's never sold a thing in their life, who knows nothing about online marketing, and they're going to make it look really snazzy and pretty, but you can't read it. So most web designers are going to hate this advice, but I'm telling you, if you want your site to convert and function, do it. You want to use black Arial or Verdana fonts on a white or a very, very, very light colored background because it makes it easy to read. You don't want anything interfering with the text, particularly if the text is really good, relevant copy. Do not put graphics behind text. This is another thing. People have text on a website and they got a bunch of graphics behind it. That's the dumbest thing ever. Why have text if you're not going to make it easy to read? I mean, you're supposed to be able to read copy that is on the site, and if you put a bunch of graphics behind it or make it light colored or really tiny, or you put it in all caps or you italicize everything, you're just making it hard to read. Don't do it. Also, do not use reverse copy. Now, what reverse copy is when you put a black background and you have white text. Okay, that's called reverse copy. It will lower conversion. In tests and studies, it has proven to lower comprehension. And this actually goes for online as well as offline. It's okay to use it a little bit, but do not put important sections of your website, like your headline, in reverse copy. Do not use a Facebook fan page as your website. I don't care how many people think Facebook's the coolest thing. It's okay to have a fan page, but have a company website. Facebook fan pages say to me, small, unprofessional. If you're selling professional services, then be a professional. Also, do not make flash graphic or stock photography take up the majority of the top third of your website. That is prime selling real estate. I'm telling you, I've done this, and I can tell you through testing, through years of experience, that you want to have a good, strong headline, not some model with a nice headset on and smiling, or other stock photography with your company name. That is doing nothing for you. Or people put that flash graphic, those rotating banners. I have never seen that improve conversion. Never. Not once. Now, you might prove me wrong, but if you're going to prove me wrong, I want to see hard facts, okay? And I want to see that to be the only change on a site. because I've never seen it improve conversion. Now, let's talk about some big do's that will give you a higher conversion, meaning more people calling you, more people requesting information. Get a pro to design your website. You don't want to give the impression you're working out of your parents' basement, okay? There's again, go up to the recommended vendor section. There's a lot of web designers I recommend. Don't just turn the whole entire design over to a graphic designer, because that's a mistake as well. But make sure whoever's designing it knows how to do clean, professional designs, because that's really important for conversion. Do use real photos of you and your staff instead of stock photography of strangers. All that is, stock photography of strangers, is visual spam, okay? So don't use it. Use real photos. Do put extra attention on the About Us page. We've already talked about that. And do put opt-in forms above the fold. If you require people to click to get to the form, you're going to lose 50% of the traffic or more. Now, what I mean by above the fold is most people are never going to scroll down on your website. So if you've got a contact us form, or if you're promoting a webinar, or you have a free report, put the opt-in form at the top of the page so they don't have to scroll down to see it. And also put the form right on that page. Don't put a click here to get it. It will lower your conversion. I have tested this. I promise you, you're going to lose 50% or more of your traffic if you require people to take 2 steps versus 1 step where the form is right there. Also, test all links and forms in multiple browsers. You also want to check it on your smartphone, check it on a tablet, check it on in Chrome and Firefox, and in different versions of Internet Explorer, because I'm telling you, if it's not done right, your site can look completely hosed up. And the other challenge you're going to run into, we run into it all the time here, is browser versions are always changing. So this is something you really got to be on top of. And you want to test it. Test the links. There's nothing worse than having a prospect come to your site and trying to fill in a form and the form doesn't work. Because the first thing they think is, this guy's a knucklehead. He's supposed to be an IT company and he can't even get his website to work. And I know it's web design and functionality and so forth is not your area of expertise. But the assumption your target market has, if you are an IT firm, you should be able to put up a website, okay? So make sure it works. Do prominently display your phone number and use a local number. And so if you've got multiple locations, then you might have a toll-free number. But if you can, people want to deal with local providers. So play on that. Put the name of your town or your city. If you're a business owner in Nashville, or if you're a business owner in Chicago, if you're a medical practice that's in the Philadelphia area, those kinds of things will improve your conversion. And do put the, like I just mentioned, do put the cities and areas you serve in your headline or somewhere prominently, because people like to deal with local providers. Now, I'll give you a couple quick tips for working with web designers, whoever it is that you choose. What you're seeing is a mock-up of one of our websites. It's our bootcamp website in construction. This is an example of Snagit. Now, Snagit is a software program by TechSmith, and it is awesome for communicating what you want your website to look like and to modify changes and help a designer see exactly what you want, because the designer's going to come up with a website. If you sit there and try and type and explain what you want, it's going to take you a lot of time. It's very difficult. With Snagit, you can actually go to different websites, grab the images very, very easily, and edit those images and piece it together into a layout or a design or a format, and then give it to somebody and say, this is what I'm looking for. So as a quick tip, you're going to thank me for it. Just go buy Snagit. Its company is called TechSmith. It's just an awesome tool. I don't know what I would do without it. Honestly, it is a huge time saver whenever I'm trying to design websites and communicate design to a graphic designer, because you want to go to your site, take a picture of it, and then go and grab elements from other sites you like to kind of give that designer, here's what I'm looking for. All right, now let's talk a little bit about landing pages, okay? And people often ask me, well, Robin, what's a landing page? What's a squeeze page? So they're really almost one and the same thing. A landing page is essentially a content focused page you're directly driving visitors to, that usually with like a direct link, and it contains information on the topic or product or service they're searching for. So really, all a landing page is the page the visitor is going to go to when they click a link or they type in a URL or whatever. It's the first page they go to. Now, a landing page could be a squeeze page, that's by design, or it can just simply be a focused a page that contains focused content. All right. A squeeze page is a type of landing page that forces the visitor to give you some information, meaning they have to opt in or take some action before they can get to more pages and content. So let me show you some examples of poor landing page design. Now, the most important thing you need to know about landing pages is they've got to be relevant. So I went online as an example and I searched on the exact phrase, disaster recovery services for small businesses. All right. This is a landing page that came up. It's from IBM, and I'm not trying to pick on IBM. But if I'm a small business, which I am, and I'm looking for disaster recovery services, I go to this page and I see IBM Business Continuity Index. Data shows the value of a holistic approach. I have absolutely no idea what this is, and I didn't search for continuity services. I don't even know what it, I know what continuity services are, but the average person might not. I'm looking for disaster recovery services specifically for small businesses. Now, if I'm paying for traffic to go to this page, then this page better talk about disaster recovery services for small businesses. But this is a mistake I see all the time. Now, whether it's a squeeze page, this isn't a squeeze page because you can actually click on the links at the top. If that navigation was gone, then it would be considered a squeeze page. But the reality is, if I'm looking for disaster recovery services for small businesses, the page I go to ought to say those words or talk about that topic. I'll give you another example. This was another one that came up and I clicked on. It says free DDoS migration plus an additional service with Savvis colocation. What the hell is that? That came up when I searched for disaster recovery services for small businesses. These are companies that are paying to drive traffic, and they're completely missing the mark. They're not generating, I'm sure they're not generating any kind of quality leads. And if they are, it's by accident, or they're at least not performing as well as they could, because this makes no sense to me. It doesn't even have information on what I'm looking for on it. Here's another one. This one was a little closer, but still, recovery as a service. Protect and recover your applications with simple, affordable recovery as a service. I'm not looking at recovery as a service, and I don't see anything about small business. Again, this is a miss, because even though it's better than the other two, it still doesn't talk about disaster recovery services for small business. This is more of a preventative thing, okay? So when you start doing marketing and advertising, you have to think, whatever it is you're using to drive the person to that page, whether it's an email, whether it's an article, a link, a direct mail piece, or whatever, when the person hits the landing page, is it congruent? Is it what they expect to see? If it's not, you made a misfire. And I see a lot of people, they spend money on email campaigns and marketing campaigns and so forth, and they just drive them to their main homepage. Big mistake. So let's say, for example, I'll give you another example. Let's suppose we wanted to drive people to register for a cloud computing seminar that we were holding, okay? I'll show you an example here. So now if I was doing a cloud computing seminar, this is an example of a good squeeze page or landing page promotion for that. So I would, the direct mail, the email, the telemarketing calls, the ads I'd be running would all be about attend a free executive lunch and learn about how cloud computing can cut your costs in half, provide automatic disaster recovery, and free you to work on any device and anywhere. So if I was promoting this seminar, I wouldn't drive people to my homepage and then have a little button there that says, click here to register for the seminar. That's a mistake. When they go to the page, you want to show them this is exactly what I was looking for, right? Now you'll notice on this is an example of a really good seminar registration page. So if you're doing a seminar, like a lunch and learn seminar, model this. So there's no other tabs or navigation. That makes it a true squeeze page. That's good. Now, if we were going to do any kind of, let's say, if we were going to do any kind of traffic to people who don't know us, the only other tab I might add is an About Us page, because that way they can learn more about you. But you can even do that on the Meet Your Presenter. If they click on that link, a light box or a pop-up comes up with my bio and my information. So just to give you an idea, it details who should attend. You can see right there, C-level executives. It's clear what the offer is and what the visitor should do, register. And the registration's right there above the fold. The bullets that are given outline the benefits of attending the event and further sort of whet the appetite of the person of what you're going to learn when you come. Again, the form is above the fold, and it's a great example. Now, here's another example of a landing page promoting the replay of a cloud webinar. Now, it's a reason it's a landing page, not a squeeze page, is because there's other links at the top. And this is Satima Fowler. She's one of my longstanding clients, very successful marketer. And you can see this is a very good one as well. It details who should watch, okay? It's got a video there of Satima, and in the video she's explaining what you're going to get if you watch this free webinar. The bullets nail the frequently asked questions people have about cloud computing and promise to answer them in the webinar, okay? There's a great client testimonial. The form is above the fold, and the button that's there promises instant access. And she took a page out of my book. She's got my little dog, the Zero Spam Guarantee, which allows people to feel comfortable about giving their information. Okay, now what I want to do is talk a little bit more about critical elements that go into squeeze pages. Now, where would you use a squeeze page? You would use it obviously in any direct kind of promotion like we're showing here, like a seminar or a webinar, or if you were doing a replay of a seminar or webinar, or if you're giving away a free report or something like that, okay? So you might not use this for your homepage because people are, wanting to get more information about your company, but you might test a squeeze page as the entry point to your homepage. Right now on our site, when you go there, there's a light box that pops up, but you can close it and get to the main site. That actually has increased our conversion, but it's not a genuine squeeze page because they can obviously close that and go right to the main site. So again, a squeeze page, there's 7 critical elements to getting it right, and you would use a squeeze page if you've got specific traffic you are driving for a specific offer. Again, let's say maybe it's you're sending out a postcard for a seminar, or you're doing a webinar, or you're offering a free report. Now, you wouldn't use a squeeze page, for example, with Google AdWords, because Google will shut you down. They will not allow you to use a squeeze page and drive traffic to it. So you've got to just use these squeeze pages in direct correlation to marketing campaigns that you're rolling out. So let's go through some elements for a true squeeze page and what makes it work. So number 1, as I've mentioned, remove all other options and links besides the option to fill in the form and get the freebie. Doing this will increase your conversion. Number 2, the headline is critical. It's that top third of the page I talked about earlier. Make sure you're flagging your prospect, promising salvation from a big problem they have, giving them secrets they want to know, or how to achieve a result they really want. So in this case, the headline here says attention VARs, system integrators, MSP solution providers, and computer consulting companies. So I flagged who is my ideal prospect. Free audio CD, the 9-step marketing secret that will double your computer consulting business in 6 months or less. That's a really big promise. Number 3, I'm giving away valuable content. It's not just a newsletter subscription. People aren't going to sign up for newsletters anymore. Back in the day, you could get people, you could build your list real easy by subscribing to your newsletter because it was novel. Now people get so much spam. Unless your newsletter is something so unbelievable and you can really sell it on the page, have a specific thing, have a CD, have a free report, have a webinar, have a video they can get a specific piece of content they can get instant access to. In this case, It says it's a free audio CD. To claim your free audio CD, simply fill in the form below. Your CD will be shipped within 7 days. Please provide full and complete address and so forth. Incomplete forms will not receive the free CD because obviously we're mailing it to them in this particular offer, and so we need a complete address. All right, and you'll see I'm using a real picture of the CD. I'm not using clip art. I would recommend you not use clip art. Number 4, you can see that I have a brief 2 to 3 minute video of me that I sell the freebie and I introduce myself. So again, this form, by the way, this squeeze page is our highest converting squeeze page. So you can see I walk, well, you can't see this because it's a still shot, but I walk on, I introduce myself, I sell the free CD, and this really improves our conversion. Now, you don't have to be as sexy and sophisticated as having yourself walk on. It could be just a video of you at your desk, and it could be hosted on YouTube, something as simple as that. But the video there helps to sell the free thing that we're offering. Number 5, you're going to see I included testimonials. You always want to do that because if you don't do it, it will suppress response. And then you see the form field, which is above the fold. And one thing on forms, the more fields you require, the lower your conversion is going to be. So in this case, I'm asking for name, company, address, phone, and email. Now, that is a lot of information to ask for, but that's because I want really qualified leads. We get tons of traffic and we get a lot of garbage. So I've actually done this intentionally so that we really kind of slow down the garbage, I guess, coming to the site. Because if I wanted more leads, I could just ask for name, or I could name an email, or just email. And I know a lot of internet marketers do that. I personally, for my philosophy, for my strategy in my business, I want to get their full contact information. And that's because we spend a lot of money on follow-up with like salespeople calling, with direct mail that we're sending. And I want to make sure this is a really, really serious buyer. So I have put those fields in place just to qualify as a qualification step. But again, for you, it might not make sense to have all that information. You might just need name, company, and email. So test it and base it on what you're getting. If you're getting a lot of garbage, then put more fields in there. If you're just not getting enough leads and you got a big long form, maybe shorten the form. Sometimes that will do a lot to increase your conversion. And number 7, make sure the ad, whatever it is, the marketing campaign that drove somebody to this page, whatever page you're using, aligns with the content on the page. Otherwise, you're going to get a high bounce rate, which means people get there, they stay there for a second, and they click the back button, and you're going to get little to no conversion. So you don't want to, for example, let's say we were doing Google AdWords, and again, we wouldn't use a squeeze page for Google AdWords, but we would have a landing page. And let's say the term that someone searches on is backup disaster recovery. Well, we wouldn't have have them go to a page that talks about managed services. Even though managed services is part of backup disaster recovery, that prospect is specifically looking for backup disaster recovery. Make sure the page they go to aligns with whatever got them there in the first place. Okay, so talking about BDR, this might be an example of a landing page. Again, if you're using Google AdWords, as of now, the rule is you can't use a squeeze page. This is a squeeze page. But let's say we were doing an email, and the email was, are you concerned about your data being accurately backed up and your ability to get your business back up and running again in the event of a disaster, ? Then here's a free report you want to get down and load and read. Click here. Let's say that was the email that went out. Or maybe you're in a trade show and you're offering this as something, to the people walking by. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever drives them to this page, you see that this is another example where they can get specific content, and this is designed very well to increase conversion. The headline and copy flag the prospect we want. Free business advisory guide, so business being in there kind of qualifies that we're looking for business. 12 little known facts every business owner must know about data backup, security, and disaster recovery. If you're a business owner on tape drives, external hard drives, or USB devices that is using those to back up your data, then it's critical for you to get and read this informative white paper So you can see right from the beginning, we're flagging the prospect. The video, you can see a little mock-up of a video would explain what you're going to get from watching, introduce yourself. We have a picture of the free report. We've got teaser bullets here that create curiosity and compel the visitor to want to opt in and find out the answers to those questions. We've got a good client testimonial, and the form is above the fold with a no spam promise. So again, if you have traffic, advertising, marketing campaigns you're sending to a website for a free report, then make sure this is what it's modeled after, because this is a really good example of how to drive leads for a specific piece of content and convert traffic. All right, now let's talk about just some general success tips. Conversion is always going to be higher if your landing page content matches the search that drove them to the page in the first place. I've said this multiple times, but I wanted to put it in writing to just really reinforce this, because this is a huge mistake I see so many people making. Conversion is usually higher when you're using squeeze pages, but test. In my business, before Google kind of canned the whole squeeze page rule, if you will, because that's something that came about 3-4 years ago, we used squeeze pages, and I'm telling you, our conversion was a lot higher when we're using squeeze pages versus not using them. Then we tested using not a true squeeze page, but a / squeeze page. I know this sounds kind of weird, but I actually found through testing that if we used a URL and drove traffic to, say, for example, technologymarketingtoolkit.com / free report, we got a higher conversion than if it was a squeeze page that was just on technologymarketingtoolkit.com. Don't ask me why. It doesn't matter. The reality is that using that little bit of that URL where someone could go to the root URL and get more information, for whatever reason, it actually improved our conversion. It was still a squeeze page, meaning there was no other links, but the person could see the root URL and could go back to it if they wanted to, and that improved our conversion. So weird little things like that, you've got to test. Also, do not use squeeze pages with Google AdWords. They'll shut down your account. Again, you just got to test, but with Google AdWords, that is the rule. And I just want to make sure everyone understands that, because I love squeeze pages for promoting seminars and webinars and free reports and other offers, but you don't want to use it in conjunction with Google. Now, a quick word on SEO, search engine optimization. My advice actually is twofold. One is work with somebody who specializes in it, because search engine optimization is constantly changing, and it just requires ongoing attention and detail. It's like treading water, right? If you stop treading water for a minute, you're going to sink. Same goes with SEO. So number one, work with a professional company. And number two, when you're hiring or working with an SEO company or even a pay-per-click company that's helping you with Google AdWords or whatever, make sure you have clearly defined what success is for you. Otherwise, you're going to end up paying a lot of money for Twitter followers, non-relevant traffic, links to your site, blog posts, and a bunch of other non-revenue generating accomplishments. Now, I have accomplishments in quotes because your SEO company or your pay-per-click company is going to say, well, look, we got all this traffic to your site, or we got all these links, or we bumped you up from position number 57 to number 53. Well, if you're not generating any leads and sales, it's irrelevant. So when you work with an SEO company or pay-per-click company, be very, very clear on how you are going to measure success. So if I pay you $3,000, Mr. SEO company, I need to get at least 1 or 2 clients within a month or two, or whatever the time frame is. Then I know this is working for me, because if you can't generate that, there's no point in engaging. Now, some SEO companies will guarantee results, others won't, or they might have some, guarantee that some falls somewhere in between there. But just here's my advice. When you're working with any kind of company, make sure you define what success is in the beginning, and that way you and them both know what you're driving for, because otherwise, again, I promise you're going to end up paying a lot of money and wasting a lot of time for irrelevant traffic and Twitter followers and friends on Facebook or whatever the heck it is. And you want to make sure that you are both aligned. All right. Now, another extremely important strategy for making your website work is answer your phone live. Okay. If you don't have in-house resources, use someone like Pat Live or Call Ruby, which is another one, or some other well-trained answering service with a quality script. All right. Because the prospect needs to get on the phone with a salesperson fast. And I can guarantee you're missing out on a number of opportunities in your business, whether you're using Google pay-per-click or any other kind of marketing and advertising methods to attract new clients, if you're not answering your phone live. I'm telling you, I know this from experience. I know this from listening to hundreds of inbound phone calls to IT services companies and hearing people hang up when they get voicemail. I'm telling you, you got to answer the phone live. I'm not talking about an auto attendant. I'm talking about a live person who can be articulate, who knows how to handle that phone call coming in. Because think about this. That next big contract, that next big $5,000, $10,000 per month kind of contract is going to call your office. And if you have an untrained, unsupervised, and maybe, kind of low wage person, to put it in a nice way, handling that, and they mishandle and they fumble that, you've just lost huge opportunities and you don't even know that they're going away. So make sure you put some attention here, because that person answering the phone is going to be the first interaction they're going to have with your company, and it's critical to your marketing success. Now, what do you do before your next session? Start answering your phone live. And I put, geez, where have you heard that before? I'm going to really hammer this home. It's important, guys. You're going to spend a lot of money on marketing and advertising. Don't screw it up by letting those phone calls go to a voicemail. You might as well not even do the marketing if that's going to be the case, because you're going to be throwing money away. Answer the phone live. There's no excuse for it. Don't tell me you're busy. Don't tell me you don't know how. You fix computer networks for a living. You're a professional business owner, and you're telling me you can't figure out how to answer your phone live. I'm not buying it. Go sell that BS somewhere else. Number 2, set up web analytics for tracking traffic sources, unique visitors, and keywords and conversion. Now, I'm not asking you to revamp the whole site. Like I said, you can get Google Analytics, give the code to your web guy, have it set up within a week. It's that easy. That's all I'm asking you to do. Simple step. All right? Then put a unique phone number on your website, start tracking and recording the calls that come in, and be sure to give your clients a different number to call for support. Now, you might put a sticker on their computer. You might give them a nice mouse pad with your, with your logo and your phone number on it for tech support. Call this number. Stickers are better if, obviously people are using tablets or whatever. Give them something that they can have, that they'll have near their computer, that has your support number on it, which is different than the public phone number you use on your website for tracking and marketing purposes. Okay. Then finally, check out the vendor directory for more sources and or to comment on vendors that are already there, because you're going to want to redesign your website. And I know this is a lot of information, and this is going to take you some time. So again, start with these simple steps to get started in the right direction. And then let's start working on the content, the copy. I've given you some really good examples. If you just model those examples, you'll be doing really well. Start tracking and analyzing. And then, of course, get on the dashboard, get on the queue, get on the live calls with me, and let's talk about what you've got set up. And I'm happy to review that. I'm happy to talk to you about what's working, what changes you want to make, etc. But get started. So with that said, go ahead, do those exercises, and I'll look forward to talking to you or working with you in the next session.